I had a liver transplant and was at one particular point, before I had the transplant, I was very close to death. And
I had a liver transplant and was in a certain place before the surgery, was almost dead. She was a teen star, and had everything. Johnny Angel was her big hit. It did better than the Beatles on the charts. She was in 3 movies with Elvis. After that everything went down. She fell through her own floor in 1994. She broke every rib on her left side. Doctors found a hidden illness that was killing her liver. A donation was the only choice. She didn't know if she would live or die for 22 months. What came next made everything different. The 19th of January, 1944 saw the birth of Shelley Fabares in Santa Monica, California. Her father was from New Orleans, and in 1988 her mother was told she had Alzheimer's. But Shelley's parents weren't the most important people in her life. It was her aunt. A Broadway and TV star named Nanette Fabre had already won a Tony and 3 Emmys before Shelley ever began. Seeing her aunt do well in show business showed Shelley what a life in show business could be like. It didn't look like a dream. It looked like it could work. Shelley was already modeling when she was 3 years old. Her mother saw how good she could be. They posed her for a picture in 1947. Their older sister Nanette, who they called Smokey, also tried modeling but didn't keep it up. On the other hand, Shelley was different. She didn't look her age. In other words, she could keep playing younger parts while other kids got too old for the business. She was in the news for longer because of it. Shelley's first TV appearance was when she was only 10 years old. The year was 1954. She was in Letter to Loretta as well. That one event set off a chain of events. She was in Captain Midnight, Annie Oakley, Fury and Colgate Theater over the next few years. Then a big chance came up. Shelley got to act with Frank Sinatra and Paul Newman on Producer's Showcase. I thought that was crazy for a kid. She was also in a live version of Wuthering Heights, which showed that she could handle serious material. By 1958 she played a big part in 15 episodes of Disney's Annette. Shelley was no longer just another child star. People were starting to know her name. Then came parts in movies. She was in the movie The Girl Rush in 1955. She didn't get paid for it, but it got her on a movie set. She played Susie Parker in Never Say Goodbye the following year. She was only 12 years old, but her name was finally next to the cast list. She also appeared in The Bad Seed and Rock Pretty Baby that same year, but she wasn't given credit for any of them. In 1957, she played teenage girl in Gene Eagles. Once more, no thanks. It kept taking place. Each small part taught her something, and she often didn't even notice them. She got parts in Marjorie Morningstar and Summer Love in 1958. Things were getting better. Not too fast, but slowly. After that there was a break. Shelley got the part of Mary Stone on the Donna Reed Show when she was only 14 years old in 1958. Everything changed. She went from having part-time jobs to being a full-time star. There were 191 episodes of the show, and Shelley was in most of them. She became a teen hero all of a sudden. She was no longer just playing. She was becoming well known in the world. It wasn't normal for her to be cast in the show. She had already sung with Frank Sinatra and been on national TV before she went on the interview. What a 14-year-old should not have done. But Shelley wasn't like other people. She had worked since she was 3 years old. Nanette, her aunt, was already well known. She knew everything about the business. She was young, but she was ready. Something more important was going on behind the scenes. Shelley and Donna Reed became very close. It wasn't just co-stars. They were like family. In the end, Shelley said Donna was like a mother to her. She grew as a person as well as an actor because of Donna. Donna asked one day, "Why don't you call me Donna instead of Miss Reed?" Shelley was shocked. Since she went to Catholic school, she was used to following rules. She had to get used to it at first, but it showed how close they were. Shelley Fabares never meant to become a singer, but the network had other ideas for her in late 1961. Her character was asked to sing on the show, and Shelley had no choice but to agree. That's how she got into a recording room full of famous musicians while she was scared. She was next to Darlene Love and the Blossoms, who were real backup singers. Behind her were Glenn Campbell on guitar, Hal Blaine on drums, and Carol Kaye on bass. Even back then, legends. It was so hard for Shelley to believe. She later said, "I've never been able to sing." The people who made it knew too. They used a lot of echo to hide her flaws in her voice, especially in the line Johnny Angel, which was repeated. In early 1962, the song was played on the show. No one had high hopes. It wasn't Shelley, but something crazy did happen. After only a few weeks, on April 7th, Johnny Angel made it to the top of the Billboard Hot 100. It was #1 for 15 weeks. It was also the #1 song in Canada and New Zealand, and at the top of the Cashbox chart. It got to number 41 in the UK, where it had already been sung by another singer. More than 1 million copies have been sold. Even though they didn't want to sing, they got a gold disc for it. Some people said her speech was warm, soft and full of echo. Some people even said that her version was better than the prose because it was so sweet and innocent. It didn't sound brave or sure of itself, but that could be why it worked. The record company rushed out another song. Johnny Loves Me came out in May 1962. This book was written by Barry Mann and Cynthia Wilde. It was about the same girl finally getting Johnny's love, but it still got to number 21 on the Billboard chart, and number 7 on the Adult Current chart. It didn't get as high as the first one. Around the world, it got to number 24. The Things We Did Last Summer, Shelley's next album, got to number 46. These songs are all on her second record with the same name. Like many TV stars who became singers at the time, she didn't do many live shows. Most of the time, lip sync was used anyway. They didn't change the sound of her music. Soft, dreamy and full of echo. The songs worked because they were made for teens. Her music didn't stay on top of the charts for long, but people who heard it back then remember it. After that came the records. Shelley had to put out full-length songs because she had a deal with Colpix Songs. The first one she put out was called Shelley, and by 1963, her third one, Teenage Triangle, was out. Behind the scenes though, she was ready to leave. The plan was very strict. These days, most TV shows make about 22 episodes each season. 39 was filmed by the Donna Reed Show every year for 5 years in a row. From age 14 to 19, Shelley worked almost non-stop. Even while she was on set, she had to go to school. It was like working in a machine, and there wasn't much room for teens to be free. After 5 years, Shelley did something brave. She left. People said it was to go to college, but there was more to the story than that. She didn't want to be a singer, but she was forced to become one. She was worn out. It wasn't easy for her to leave. After that, she came back for 7 more shows, but the damage was already done. She couldn't get a job for 4 years. The movies moved on. Shelley stayed put. She thought that the right time would come again, and in the end it did. In 1965, Shelley Fabares had only been married for 17 days when she went to make Girl Happy. Lou Adler, a director, was her new husband, but Elvis Presley met her on the set. She was tense at first, but that went away as soon as they met. Shelley said they had known each other for a long time. It wasn't romantic, but something did click. Elvis knew her work before she did it. She was on the Donna Reed Show. He knew her #1 song from 1962, Johnny Angel. From the start, he made her feel at ease. It was clear that they got along. It was seen by everyone on board. In the end, critics said that her sweet, innocent personality went well with Elvis. Valerie Frank is the daughter of a Chicago mobster, and she played her in Girl Happy. Elvis was hired to keep an eye on her in Fort Lauderdale during spring break. The movie was light and fun. That wasn't all. It was the start of a real relationship between them. Not love, but a bond that would last 3 years and 3 movies. They worked together again the next year in Spin Out, which was filmed from February 21 to April 7, 1966. She played Cindy Fox Shue, a selfish rich girl whose dad ran a racetrack. This time Elvis's character Mike McCoy was in love with 3 different women, Shelley Diane McBain, and Deborah Wally. Things might have gone badly with that, but they didn't. On the Donna Reed Show, Carl Betts played Shelley's father. In Spin Out, he was cast again as her father. Seeing that familiar face helped calm things down on set. A lot of people liked the show. Part of that was how well Elvis got along with the women. Each one brought something different, and none of them were as strong as he was. Elvis got $750,000 for the movie plus 40% of the money that it made. That much money showed how well known he was still. After the fact, his Memphis mob friends said that Shelley was the only co-star who could match Anne Margaret's energy. They said nice things about you. Elvis loved Anne Margaret the most. Things were different when Clam Bake began shooting in 1967. Elvis went from weighing 170 pounds to 200 pounds. He didn't like the way his job was going. The parts and scripts were becoming less interesting. A company boss told him to lose weight. He began taking diet pills at that time, which would stay with him for years. Shelley wasn't just a co-star on that set. She was also someone who would listen and be honest. In trailers and changing rooms, they talked alone for hours. He told her one day that he was going to marry Priscilla Beaulieu, which was something he hadn't told almost anyone else. People were shocked when he left the room and told them what I told her. She was trustworthy, even though many of them didn't know. The clam bake was a turning point. Elvis was getting very angry about the movies. Someone once said that he looked a lot like James Dean, but he never got serious parts, and had to work on forgettable scripts. Shelley was no longer just an actor next to him at that point. There were cracks in his smile that she could see because she knew the real man. Even though they worked together a lot, they never had a romantic relationship. That wasn't always the case with Elvis and his co-stars. Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's manager, often helped women fake relationships to get more people to see his shows. It worked for Anne Margaret in Viva Las Vegas, and made her more well-known. The two of them didn't play that game though. In the end she said that their bond was real and true. He didn't have to sing with her. There was no need to flirt, and there were no news stories to follow. That may be why he had so much faith in her. After many years, Shelley felt both happy and sad when she thought about that time. She saw how his fame had changed him. She said, "I just hurt for what happened with him." It was clear to her that he had made some bad decisions, but she also knew why. Not long ago, he was a 19-year-old boy from Tupelo, Mississippi. Now, he was the biggest star in the world. That was the last time she saw him in the MGM restaurant. When Elvis peered through the door, everyone in the room ran to him. She asked what it would be like to be that boy, and have that happen 100 times more. He had no hope. It was hard for him because of the stress, being alone, and the demands. As early as 3 years old, Shelley Fabares worked in show business. But all of a sudden, in the late 1960s, nothing happened. She once said, "I went to bed on Tuesday after working since I was 3 years old. I quit my job 4 years ago, on Wednesday." It wasn't just a dry spell. It was a real problem with their job. The happy picture that made her popular in the past didn't fit with how things were now. People wanted something more in-depth, bigger and worse. Pop culture was being shaped by Vietnam, politics, and rebellion. Shelley looked too sweet and innocent on screen, and it didn't work. In the end she said she didn't take chances. She was afraid to try something new, and grow as a person. "That I should have been more angry," she said. She probably missed out on some great chances because she was afraid, but she slowly started working again in the end. Her return started with a guest spot on the show Mannix. It wasn't a big deal, but it was a start. After that, she kept going on TV shows, like Medical Center, The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, and Daniel Boone. Each one helped her get back what she almost lost. In 1968, during this tough time, she co-starred with Hank Williams Jr. in a movie called A Time to Sing. The movie was meant to help both of their careers, but it didn't. Shelley played Amy Carter, and Hank played Grady Dodd, a young farmer who is drawn to music, even though his uncle doesn't want him to be. Some people thought the plot didn't make much sense, so they ripped it apart. IMDb gave it a bad score of 5.4 out of 10. One reviewer said the plot was stupid because every character made choices that didn't make sense. This teen movie didn't do well, even though it was made by Sam Katzman, who has a history of making good ones. The critics and the crowd both didn't like it. She took on any part she could get during this time. She ran from one guest spot to the next. Lancer, Bracken's World, and The Interns all had her in them. She was in Longstreet, McCloud, Owen Marshall, Cades County, and Love, American Style after her part in Mannix. Hollywood always thought of her as Mary Stone, the girl from the Donna Reed show. No matter what else she did, that picture was like a shadow following her. In 1974, she had a part that stood out on the Rockford Files. She played Jolene Hyland, the wife of a thief who stole more than $4 million. The person she plays hired Jim Rockford to find $750,000 in uncommon stamps that her husband had bought. It was a mature story with turns, betrayals, and criminal plans. Wasn't just the nice girl for once. She had a lot of layers, and was smart and driven. Even though it showed she could play more serious parts, Hollywood still put limits on her.
But Shelley's life behind the scenes was changing even more by the early 1980s. Her work was still going strong. She chose not to file for bankruptcy, but there were signs of stress about money. In 1983, she had a part in a TV show called Mayday. That's where she met Mike Farrell, who you may know from M*A**, They got married in 1984, after falling in love. Soon after they bought a simple house in Sherman Oaks. In the end, Farrell called it their vacation home. It wasn't fancy, but it was theirs. Shelley Fabares never thought that a simple CBS gathering in 1982 would change her life. The end of her marriage to Lou Adler had been hard. Another well-known person at the event was Mike Farrell, who had just gotten separated from Judy Farrell. In 1970, they had met before, but it didn't mean anything. This time, something worked. Mike took their coffee date to a deeper level, when he asked her to look at his photography. After a year, Mike asked her to marry him over a quiet meal at a health food restaurant in Topanga Canyon. Yes, Shelley said. Their wedding was small, and held at her aunt's house on August 21, 1984. Ninette Fabares was that aunt's name. After that, things were not easy. Both of them had kids from past relationships. Both were getting better from old wounds, but they quietly and slowly got it done. Shelley got the part of Christine Armstrong on Coach in 1989, which changed the course of her career. It was a surprise to win. Almost 200 people had tried out. A lot of them were younger. Some people at ABC didn't think she was right for the part, but director Barry Kemp pushed her hard. He thought Shelley was smart, funny, and strong all at the same time. He was right. Coach didn't get much attention at first. It came in at number 60. Shelley made a joke about how only 6 people were watching, but ABC changed the time, so it would show after Roseanne. The ratings went through the roof. Suddenly millions of people were watching. Shelley and Craig T. Nelson looked great together on TV. Things weren't always easy behind the scenes though. Craig's acting was all over the place. Shelley liked the order. One day during episode 11, they talked for a long time, in her changing room after too many takes. It went on for 2 hours. They made things clear. From that point on, their relationship changed. The chemistry they had on TV became real. They got married in the 100th episode of the show, which aired in May 1993. Success came next, made the short list for 2 Emmys, in 1993 and 1994. They were the only one she ever had as an adult. As someone who began playing when they were 3 years old, and had a lead role in the Donna Reed show, the praise came late, but felt right. She was even given a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Young Artist Foundation. The work she was most proud of was no longer behind her. But in 1994, just when things were going well, they changed. Shelley fell through a hole in her home's floor while it was being fixed up that year. Every rib on her left side was broken when she fell. She was 50 years old. The pain was too much to bear. Recovery took a long time. Still, she worked on Coach some more. Everyone thought it was just a terrible accident at the time, but something worse was about to happen. Normal tests were done on her after the fall. Too many liver enzymes were in her body, which was not safe. Why? No one knew. Then there were more tests, even more confusion. It was years before doctors finally said she had inflammatory hepatitis. Her body was fighting her liver with her immune system. For a while, the medicines helped, but the damage kept happening. All the time, she was tired. She slept 20 hours a day sometimes. Mike, her husband, was scared. Shelley was strong in public, but she was breaking down inside. Then, in early 1999, the secret situation came to a head. Shelley had a huge esophageal bleed at home, with no notice. There were huge blood clots in her throat. She was taken to Cedars-Sinai right away. They told her the worst. Her liver was getting worse. The medicine could no longer work. That was the only way to save her. She was put on the transplant list in April 1999. He did nothing but wait for the next 22 months. Every day was unknown. She hoped every time her pager went off. But a lot of the time, it was wrong. Each false scare broke her heart. She lost strength. She did wait though. The call came in just after midnight, on October 23, 2000. She was on the donation list for 22 long stressful months before she finally heard the words she had been waiting for. "We have your liver." The call came from Dr. John Vierling, Mike Farrell, Shelley's husband, and they didn't feel like it's real. They had already been through a few false alarms, where the donor pager went off, but was actually the wrong number. It had been scary every time. Shelley once said, "Before we even got the transplant, we really thought we might die of stress." Shelley was in a lot of pain by the time the real call came. She was barely able to stay awake. She said afterward, "I wasn't in pain. I was so tired though. When I woke up thirsty, I'd try to get up to get water, but I'd decide I was too tired, and go back to sleep." At that point, she and Mike knew things were really bad. Over half of the people who need liver donations never get one in time. Her health problems began years ago, and didn't start in the way anyone thought they would. Shelley fell through the floor of her house in 1994 while it was being built. On her left side, she broke all of her ribs. Doctors saw something strange while doing normal tests after the crash. Her liver tests were way too high. They were not able to say why. Even though her numbers were still too high, medicine kept her stable for years. After that, she had a scary gastric bleed in early 1999. Cedars-Sinai Medical Center was called right away to take her. That's when things changed. They told her that the bleed was caused by liver failure, that the medicine wasn't working anymore, and that another bleed could be fatal. To stay alive, she needed a replacement. In October 2000, the operation finally took place. It kept her alive. Her liver failed because of an autoimmune disease, but the specifics of the surgery are not known to the public. It wasn't easy for her to heal. After such big surgery, the body takes a while to heal. She had to get stronger again, deal with being tired all the time, and carrying the weight of everything she had been through. Mike was what got her through it. Shelley said he was her very life. She said that he was at all of her doctor's appointments. "He was with me the whole time. When things get tough like this, some marriages end." It didn't work for them. It got bigger. In the end, Shelley said, "We got closer. Without him, I don't know how I would have gotten through it." Shelley always remembered that the donation was only possible because someone else's family had to lose a loved one. One time, she said that she always knew she had little time left. It had been a terrible wait. There was fear, doubt, and hope for 22 months. She didn't talk about her gift in public, but she did talk a lot about how grateful she was. Feelings get confusing when someone gets an organ transplant. You're still living, but someone else isn't. That truth never left her. It was hard on the mind too. Studies show that 46% of people who have had a liver transplant experience serious stress after the surgery, but Shelley never talked about her PTSD in public. Up to 45.8% of people are depressed. A lot of people have worry that lasts long after the scars on their bodies are gone. Shelley said that the event had totally changed her. "It seems like things are getting back to normal now," but she said, "I'm a different person. It's changed everything about me, and how I see life." Even though it had been 3 years since her donation, she still remembered and felt the same things. She said, "I'm thankful for my life, my doctors, and what I've learned. I'm thankful for many things, but mostly my husband." Still, Shelley was honest about how much it cost. Even though she grew and became stronger, "I wouldn't want anyone to go through this." There was a time when Shelley Fabares wasn't an agitator. She was well known for her roles in movies and TV shows, but when Alzheimer's hit her family, everything changed. In the early 1980s, her mother Elsa was told she had it. At first, Shelley didn't know that her mother had been giving money to Alzheimer's studies for years. In fact, she told Shelley's sister that she would rather kill herself if she ever got the poison. Doctors finally found out what was wrong with her, but it was too late. She couldn't remember what she had said before. For 9 long years, Elsa fought Alzheimer's. She died in 1992. Shelley was very upset about the loss. She could have run away from her pain, but since 1988, before her mother died, she turned it into something useful. She had already started helping out the Alzheimer's Association by giving her time. She stuck by her promise. She became one of their advocates across the country. It wasn't just about being aware. Shelley didn't just want things to change at talks and charity events. In a hurry, she went to Washington. She spoke in front of Congress 4 times between 1998 and 2004. She talked about the hurt, the need for help, and how important it is to pay for study. She didn't hold back. What she said made a difference, At a hearing in the Senate in 2001, Senator Tom Harkin said that her earlier statement was a turning point. It's clear from the numbers. In 1996, the NIH spent $308 million on Alzheimer's studies. By 2001, that amount had grown to $520 million. Shelley didn't give up. She didn't use her fame just for the sake of it. She used it to push for something bigger. She once said, "I love being an actress, but the work I do for Alzheimer's makes me feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life." She really meant it. What began as a tragedy in her family turned into her life's work.